Hello everyone, today we're having a look at ABC integration with Game Creator. ABC is an ability and combo creation tool that allows for some pretty amazing things and is definitely worth looking into. Before we start, I would like to thank all of my Patreon supporters for the amazing support. This scene will be made available on Patreon. Now before we get started, I want to be clear about something. This is not a tutorial on creating amazing combos or abilities. This is simply how the Game Creator integration works. And I'm going to show two ways on how to do this. One being mostly using ABC itself, the other using Game Creator a bit more. Now, another thing I do want to mention is that most of this will require this stats module to some degree. And I consider the stats module to be an, essential module anyway, but, just a fair warning. So we're going to get started by creating two game objects here. So a player and a character. I'm going to move the character a bit, rotate him around, add a simple camera motor. Bit of a usual setup, nothing all too special. And there we go. So I'm going to create something simple. It's mostly about showing how this works with Game Creator. And the reason for that is, one, I haven't had a lot of time yet with ABC. It honestly allows for amazing things. I've seen, crazy possibilities here, far, overshadowing most of what you're used to. But it takes a lot of time and dedication to learn how to use all of this. And I haven't had that time myself yet. And honestly, you will require quite some time to set this all up. So let's get started with the stats module component on both, and I'll show what I mean as well. Next up, we need a ABC controller script component. We're only going to be using the ability manager here, and we need a ABC state manager on the receiver. Now, if the enemy uses these abilities as well, you'll need a receiver, so state manager on the player as well. And it's easy to set up. I'll show that part. So integrations, which allows for the Game Creator integration. If you've never used ABC before, you need to turn those on. It will take a few seconds, and it'll install some actions and triggers. So we're going to get started with the ability manager, and we're going to add a new ability. Now I really like the option to copy and export abilities and import them. I think that's honestly really cool. As you'll see, it takes quite some work to set this all up. And if you're getting a bit overwhelmed by seeing all of this, it gets crazier. I'm going to be real here. It gets a lot crazier. So, I don't know, do we have a fist? No. Fish? I don't know. I'm just going to use a simple icon. So ABC allows for combos, magical abilities, even gun options. You can alter gravity, time, do telekinesis, affect the environment. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. You can create the craziest combos, mix and match between combos as well. It's honestly really cool, but it takes a lot of time to learn all of this. And if you're thinking this is going to be an easy alternative, no, it's not. If you thought the melee module wasn't easy to use, you'll be in for a surprise with ABC. However, is it worth looking into? Definitely, because it allows for a lot more. So that's the thing. It's quite a steep learning curve in my opinion. I know it says easy quite a lot of times on the asset and their website. It's not. I'm going to be really, really straightforward here. It's not easy whatsoever, but it allows for really, really cool things, and I'll definitely delve a bit deeper into this, and I'll be doing a couple more tutorials on some of these use cases. But we're starting off with the basics. So we have particle effects, so let's say magic, raycast, let's say guns, and melee. Now, if you're looking at this for, as an alternative for the shooter module for guns, I would say no, don't do it. It's, for guns, I don't know, it's overly complex for something as simple as just gunfire. Wouldn't recommend it for that. Now, for melee, and especially combos and magic, it's amazing, and you can do so much with this. So again, it's a steep learning curve, but it's worth it. So we're going to keep it really, really simple here. We'll skip over most options. So you have keys and combo. Now we're not using the keys as we're using Game Creator. Quite important to point out. Combos is required if you want to, build out combos, obviously. Position and travel, that's mostly something used for, well, not mostly, pretty much entirely used for magical abilities. Collision and impact, that's quite important, and that's where we'll see our first work. So we're going to keep most of this exactly the same. We're not changing anything here. But on even impact, we're not actually doing much here. You can play around with these things. That's pretty cool. Alter time, shake camera. You'll need a component though on the camera, just to be clear about that. Collision, I'm not even going to do anything here. We'll actually skip most of these things entirely. Now, collision type is quite interesting. So enter, exit, on-stay, and particle collision. This actually allows for a lot of options when it comes to how do your abilities actually take effect. I think that's really cool. Aesthetic and animation has multiple phases, and depending on the type of ability you're using, it can even have more. So preparation is tied to prepare time, and prepare time basically, think of it as a charging state, and you can have abilities, animations tied to that. Now we're not going to do that. This is a melee, no charging required. Initiation is, the actual animation we'll need here. And I've edited some of the Frank Fighter 3 pack that's on sale right now. I've added them in, well, not really edited them. I've basically opened them in UMotion Pro and exported them again because they had root motion baked in, which doesn't allow for our offset, which we quite often, well, almost always need. So that's why I did this. So that's the animation clip we're using. Duration is 0.667. It's going to, play the normal speed, no delay, but it's nice to have all of these options. We can have graphics as well, so I'm going to pick something really basic just to show how it works. Spark. And, do an offset. Again, this is something you might, you're familiar with how this works, the offsets, etc. You have it with Game Creator as well. We have on target. I haven't actually tried that, so let's try blood and see how it works. I have no idea. I haven't tried this out yet, so could be interesting. Object. On tag. It's yeah, we'll see what happens. Honestly, I haven't tried it out yet. So yeah, we have some graphic options here, which is cool. Ability end, again, you can end this with new animations as well, which is cool. And there's a lot more reload, obviously, for guns. Now in effects, we'll need to pick something. So this is the effect it will actually have, and here you will have a lot, and this kind of also shows how much is possible here. Lift, pull, change gravity, teleport, toggle visibility, weapons, which is, really, honestly, it allows for so much. Bullet time, there's a lot of options here with ABC, and that's why I think it is worth it. It allows for so much. Now we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to adjust health and hit the little plus. I'm going to take off quite a bit simply because I don't want it to take forever. And here you can see a lot of other things. So modify potency using stats. So here you can have stats actually modify the damage output, which for RPG type games, or not even that, just general action adventure where you can at least alter some stats, which is usually the case these days. You can have stats actually modify the potency, which I think is really, really cool. So again, a lot of potential here. Graphic effects, per animation. And as I said, you can create combos, spawn objects. There's so much you can do, but we're going to keep it simple. So we're just doing the basic here, adjust health. There we go. And on our player, we're going to create a new empty here. Oh, create empty. And let's rename this to Combat. Add a simple trigger. So this will be key down. And I'm just going to use the F key, which is kind of a strange key, I know, but it's simply because it's next to the the movement keys. So then we'll add some actions, and this actually works really similar to the melee module. So here we have ABC integration, activate ability, and I think it was melee 01, I'm not sure anymore. Yeah, melee 01, there we go. And that's it. So yeah, really, you can do it by ID as well. I'm pretty sure that would be interesting if you have tons of them. So yeah, and that's it really. That's all you have to do. Now next up we have character and the state manager. And basically this is what happens on a receiving end. So you have general stats, things you can add here. You can add stats, etc. Health, luckily by default, is set up. And if you've done the integration, you will have ABC and Game Creator. So we're going to be using the default health. Now, if you don't have this, it's because you didn't install these stats examples via the module manager. But this basically already fills in the name of the default one, and I'm fine with this. I'm going to add a regen as well, just to show how it works. I think it's pretty cool. We can have full health on enable. That will turn this 25 up to 100 straight away, but that's okay. Stop movement on 0 health, yes. Disable on 0 health, so you can actually remove the entire object. It's really cool that it's in there. I'm going to turn that off for now, and I'm going to do a simple model swap. Now, we haven't done this before, and the reason I'm doing this is simply because I'm using ABC here for the receiving end. You don't even have to do this. I'll show the alternative way as well, but I think it's cool to show. So I'll be duplicating the character, so not the parent, but the actual character object here. And I'll call this death state. Well, that's not right. There we go. And I'm going to add a new animator here. So as you can see, I already have a couple. Let me remove those. Yeah. And I'm going to create a new one. So animator controller. And we're going to do death state. So let's open this up, and I'm not going to close this. I'll just keep it open and drag it to the side. I'm going to add a new state. And we need a death animation. And I'm using the ones from Frank's first fighter pack. I can't look it up because they all have really annoying names, so I have to do it this way. They all have the same name basically. But again, the important thing, make sure you have these turned on. So do it with the parent, of course. And basically that's a death animation. And I think it's pretty cool. It's a bit different than doing ragdolling all the time. So nice. So now that we've done that, I'm going to go here, going back to locomotion, I'm going to drag in that death state. So let's save, close the animator, and we'll turn this off right now. We're going to drag this one in. Okay. And we'll drag this one in here. And I'm not really sure if I needed to do this again, but for now I won't do it. I'll just keep it as is. Now you have UI options as well. Obviously you can just use Game Creator for all of that, but it's good that it's in there. Next up we have hit animations. And yeah, let's add one as well. Get hit. I'm not sure if this needs to be turned on, activate from hit, but we'll do it anyway. We have probabilities here, and I think that's really cool because basically you can add multiple hit animations, and you know, with probability basically randomize between them. I think that's really awesome. Mixes things up a bit. And for this one, I'm going to go back to Frank's animations here and look up a hit animation. And I think this one was fine. But as you can see, you know, there's multiple. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. You could cycle between them. I think that's pretty nice. But we'll keep it simple. But it's really cool that all of that is in there. Now again, we're faced with duration here. Did I drag in this one? Yeah. And that's again, that's 0.667. Interrupt current animation, that is important. It needs to be turned on. And yeah, there we go. You'll have more options here, but we're not going to be using any of that. And yeah, that's it for the basics. So let's give this a try. May have missed something, most likely did. And if not, great. There we go. So yeah, that blood effect wasn't the right one. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select a character. We see his health being at 100, and we'll try to hit him. And as we can see, not a lot is happening here. And with not a lot, I mean nothing whatsoever. So let's get back and actually look into what we might have missed. So let's have a look and see what we're missing here. And it has to be related to collider and a collision because it wasn't affecting health. So collider, and it's set to a trigger, but we're not using a trigger at the moment. So we're using ABC's you know, health tools basically, and you know, receiver tools. So we're going to turn that off and try again. And we want to make sure we select our character here so we can actually see what we're doing. So as you can see, I'm hitting him and his health is regenerating as well with 0.1 per second. He's doing his hit attacks, animations, and once he dies, this is what happened. And as you can see, it's incredibly fluent. So I'm pretty sure you didn't notice the switch between these two at all. And you know, he still has his mask because we didn't disable him. You can still do that, of course, after a certain amount of time. But this is honestly really cool, and it's I think it's quite a decent alternative to a doing a ragdoll. If you have decent animations, it can look really cool. So that's pretty awesome. That's one way to do it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select our player, go back to Ability Manager, and we're going to turn on his trigger again. And what we're going to do here is we are going to select our character and we are going to add a trigger to our character. And here, when it comes to all of these options, you will see ABC integration as well. On collision with ABC ability. Ability ID, name. Now we'll do name, so I think it was melee 01. And as you can see, you have a couple of options here. So ability names, IDs, effects, and all. Pretty cool. And we can add some conditions, and we'll basically go the usual game creator route. So, you know, stats, attribute value. I'm just going to drag in the character just in case. Health, and well, you know, this is what we're all used to. Health of our and here I'm just going to do the basic ragdoll. Now this is not a fair comparison, of course, because you can just do animation states with Game Creator as well. You know what, let's actually do that. I think that's pretty cool. Let's see if we can do the exact same thing. So we'll turn off the ragdoll, and we'll turn off this object, and we'll turn on this object. Yeah, cool. So let's try that out. I'm not even sure that will work the same way, but it's interesting to try out. So obviously we'll need to do some basic hit animations as well. So let's do that. You know, let's do that as well. Just going to use an animation clip, and we still have our hit here. Yeah, cool. So let's get back to it and see how this works. But before we do that, I might have to actually turn something off. So I'm going to go to State Manager, and for now I'm just going to use this. And on collision, I'm also going to turn off its trigger again. I'm not really entirely sure. I'm going to try it out like this, and we'll see what happens. Now, one big difference compared to before is that we didn't change the health, so we'll easily be able to differentiate the two. Doing so much, you know, we're still doing the same damage, but with almost no health, we should be able to two-hit him. So 1 and 2. And as you can see, this actually looks pretty much the same. So, you know, you can do that with Game Creator as well, which is pretty, you know, pretty cool. And yeah, that's the second way of, you know, having this interaction. Now, it's not to say that you can't use both at the same time. So for example, if you want a trigger to do something else, you know, not to affect health, that's completely possible. But it's really cool that with integration, we can actually use both of these things. So we can still use ABC's complete system. And while it's not as straightforward maybe in some regards, it is actually really, really good in a lot of other ways. So if we open this up again, you know, the fact that we can easily have all of these different animations, we can, if I turn this back on, we can have, you know, regen all of that in here with relatively easy steps. So I do think that's really cool. You know, it is really useful, and luckily we can use both. So that's it for this video. Like I said, no complex combo set up, but just a video showing how integration works and how it can be used in several ways. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.